I want to give you guys a little language arts update today. We kind of did a little teeny tiny adjustment, and that is because my second daughter, she's about to be 8, she requested a couple of weeks ago. She really just wants to do a novel study with us. She sees me and my oldest doing it, and she just says, I want to read a book with you, Mom. And I haven't really done it because we're focusing so much on phonics because she's still working on how to read. So I started thinking about ways that I could do it, and the first week I kind of just did a little book, a picture book, and kind of read with her a little bit and kind of got a taste of, okay, what could we do? And then we took a break, and over the break I just kept thinking, like, what book am I going to read, first of all, and then how am I going to fit it in to where I have one with her and one with my oldest. And so instead of coming up with 2 books, I decided we're just going to do the one. And so language arts kind of became a family study this week, and it was so much fun. So I'm so excited to share just the little adjustments that we did in order to do that. So the first thing I had to figure out is how I was going to get us all reading the same book. I had a couple of options. I thought about maybe letting my 8-year-old listen to the book, but she's such a audiobook lover that I felt like she wouldn't be able to stop herself. Like, she would just keep going and going, get too far. My daughter and I, we kind of read on our own time. She reads at one point during the school, and then I read before bed. And I really struggled to find how we would make it work. And then I realized I read to the kids every single night. Why don't I just make that the book? There's nothing wrong with it. My only concern was that it was going to kind of take away the reading time that my daughter did during the school day, which I started to feel guilty. But then the more I thought about it, she reads at other times. She reads before bed every single night. She can't go to bed without it. She listens to audiobooks every single day during our quiet time. It's not like she's not reading. So I felt like taking that away from our school day would kind of be like a weight off, and it would still work out. So I told myself it was okay and decided that the book that we were going to read is going to be the one that I read to them every single night, and I've been reading them every night for years, and that was going to be it. So the novel we picked was one that my oldest daughter and I had already picked together, which is Hatchet. And so I thought, okay, this will be a good one. I will read this to them each night. And the great thing is I'm not bound to a certain amount. So for example, one night a chapter was really short, and so we just said, let's read the next chapter. So it's kind of nice that we can just kind of go with how we're interested and that sort of thing. I'm not like asking them comprehension questions before bed. I'm not getting to the end of the chapter and saying, okay, tell me what happened. I'm not doing that. It's very relaxed. It's enjoyable. If they have questions, I answer them. If I have feelings, if I say, why is he not making a fire? We do that. We just have our regular discussion. So it doesn't feel like school at all. But technically, it kind of is. So the first part of this language arts as a family is just reading a chapter of this book every night. So now the next thing I want to show you is what I did with each of my girls this week to kind of give them each their own, at their own pace, language arts at their pace. And I'll show you how I did that. Let's start with my oldest, because I've already done videos on this before and not really much changed at all. So we have a very specific pattern that we follow. The first thing is I choose a passage from the book, and that becomes her copywork. So every morning during her independent time, she has her copywork, and she writes a little bit at a time. I just tell her it has to be your best. So if you're not doing your best, you need to stop. But she knows that she has to get to the end by the end of the week. I'm not gonna lie, I really struggled to find a passage with this book. That's another story, but I picked one. And so she works on this each day, and she practices her cursive in that way. The other thing she does is grammar every day. So she uses Fix-It Grammar. We love Fix-It Grammar. This is our second book to use, and she does this independently in the morning. So there's 2 things already that she's done, and she does it on her own first thing in the morning, copywork and grammar. Later in the day, I work with her, I sit down with her, and we do other parts of language arts. So the pattern that we follow, and this is in her checklist, which I've shown in a video here before, but we're always focusing on the passage that I pick. Now, this is kind of a mess, but here's language arts here. This is her independent work up here at the top, and you can see copywork and grammar. Okay, but down here is language arts. On Monday, we focus on spelling and vocabulary. So I'm gonna take this passage. We're gonna look at the whole thing. We're gonna talk about words and make sure we know what they mean. And then we even look at punctuation as well. And then I'm going to, what else did I say? Spelling. I quiz her on each of the words. You know, there's some words, like I know she knows how to spell out, but like I'll quiz her on all the other words to see if she knows them. So that's on Monday, spelling and vocabulary. So the only thing that really changed in our day-to-day thing is she's no longer reading for 20 minutes. Everything else is still the same. Tuesday is written narration, and I'll talk about this here in a second. Wednesday is kind of our light day, so it's just us reading at night. And then Thursday is dictation. So Thursday, I read her the passage, and she has to write it from memory, spelling everything correctly, and using the correct punctuation and so on. So her schedule really isn't any different besides the fact that she doesn't have to read during the day. And honestly, that's kind of been nice. I don't have to wait for her to get that done. And honestly, I got a little pushback. You know, when you're forced to read something and it's not your normal reading time, it's not always fun. It's been kind of nice to take that away. And she can still just read for pleasure at night. And I monitor what she's reading at night as well. So, okay, so let's talk about the written narration day. This is one that I am still trying to figure out how I want to do it best. This week I gave her a choice of a couple of books. And I said, you can read the book and do a written narration. I gave her the option of doing a survival book because I felt like it was related to this. I gave her the option of finding something at the library because we happened to go to the library that day. I also gave her the option of just reading a book that I had on the shelves that was related to the history we were doing. So even though it's not directly related to this chapter, I still feel like she's doing what I want her to do, which is write about what she's reading. And so she ended up picking a book from the library. She read it, she wrote about it, and so I can kind of see that skill being practiced. So I'm still kind of figuring out if I want to pick the book or give her that freedom, so that's still kind of in the works. Okay, so that's my oldest daughter. Really not much change besides the written narration day and taking out the reading. So let's talk about now how I worked with my almost 8-year-old. So this is like kind of really different from what we were doing. Okay, so first I'll start with what she does independently. I keep her independent work very light right now. So what she does in the morning is just handwriting. She is learning cursive, and this is the handwriting book that we use. It's by EPS Books. It says a PAF program. I had never heard of it before, but I really like the way that it looks. And so that's what she does. And I just have her do 1 line a day, which is practically nothing, but I get the best results. Her writing looks the best, and I feel like I can sit with her and make sure she's doing it correctly. So handwriting, that gets done in the morning. Everything else is her and I together. So just like her sister, we have added in some grammar. Now, I did not intend to add grammar in for this year just because we're still trying to work on reading. However, I came across this book and I felt like it was really nice, really gentle, and I felt like it was the perfect way to kind of introduce grammar to her. So I will show you what that looks like. So this is the grammar that we're doing daily. I started with the grade 1, the first one that they have, because I just felt like it would be better for her. So if you look on the inside, so like this is day 1, it's just a little bit of everything each day. And so we just do 1 page together. I'm skipping through so you can kind of see how it progresses. And it literally takes us just like 2 minutes to work through this. And that's it. So we just do one page, and that is her grammar practice for the day. And the whole book is like this. I'm just going to keep going in chunks so you can see the whole book is just these little chunks of information. Okay, so you can see that was super simple. It takes just a couple of minutes. And then, so grammar, check. She's done with that. The next thing we do is copywork. Now, this is new for her also. I'm still kind of figuring out how I want to do this the best, but what we did this week really went well. So I used the same copywork that I used for my oldest, except I only did one sentence, and it just so happened to be kind of a long sentence. I'm going to show you what it looks like here. This was the copywork for this week. So you'll see I wrote this in cursive with a marker, and then each day I sat with her and she traced my writing. Can you see it? She traced my writing with a pencil. And we just did one line a day. This third day we finished it off. And that was her copywork. So it was nice because I could sit with her, we could practice her cursive, and so on. And while this is here, I'll show you, this is the dictation that I decided to do for her. So I learned this method from using Brave Writer in the past. She calls this French dictation, and it's basically a form of dictation where you're just filling in the blank. And so I picked blanks that I knew that she could spell well. And so we did this today, the last day of our week, and it went super well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you hers, but you have to understand that it's a work in progress, so it's kind of a mess. But you can see her independent work is up here, her cursive. Now, this is our language arts. You'll notice, just like her sister, we focused on spelling. It could even say vocabulary because I looked at the words with her. But we did spelling from her passage. Her copywork and her grammar is on here as well. The only thing I haven't mentioned to you guys is phonics, and I'll get to that in a minute. The second day, same thing, copywork, phonics, and grammar. And then this was that narration day that her sister did, and I'll tell you more about that. Here, copywork, phonics, grammar, and that's that slow day. And then here we have same thing, phonics, grammar, dictation. You notice I have on here read to mom. Like I said, this is a work in progress. I'm trying to have her do that with me every day. I think I'm going to end up taking it off of this list, but it is just a daily goal. Okay, I hope this isn't like turning into wash. I hope it's making sense. It makes sense in my brain. But my point in showing you that is that it's literally the same pattern that her older sister does. But a lot of it I do with her. So one thing that was really cool is that first day is spelling and vocabulary, and the girls were begging to do shaving cream. So I sat all the kids down at the table and I put shaving cream in all their spots, and I quizzed them all on these spelling words from the passage because it's the same passage. Now, I gave my older daughter all the words, whereas I gave my younger daughter the words I know she could do, but it was nice to be able to do that together. So that second day of the week for her sister is written narration. I talked to you about that. This week I picked a fairy tale to read to her, and it was just, like I said, kind of like the older sister, just something to read and narrate about, but like that was actually a good book, a good quality book. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep it that way because her and I practice narration in other ways, but right now I'm just trying to follow the same pattern because it simplifies the process. So that third day of the week, you guys know that that's our kind of slow day. So we just are reading together in the evenings. And then the last day of our week is dictation. And I showed you how I did dictation with her, which it went really well. I loved it. So let me show you a little bit about the phonics that we do. And I've even been able to incorporate the passage into this as well. So her and I use phonics pathways. I have shown some videos about this book if you're interested, but we do about a half a page a day. Phonics pathways, the way that it works is they're supposed to read it and then they're supposed to be able to write the words. So we spend the first 5 to 10 minutes of our lesson time, it's really probably just 5 minutes, reading a half a page, and then she practices writing them. So she's technically getting spelling practice every day, but that's another story. Okay, so the last little bit of thing I want to tell you is how each day we pulled out the passage because she was working on the copywork together. But each day we kind of just looked at it and we talked about the punctuation and the capitalization. And I went through with her some of the phonics rules in the passage. And so I'm just going to show you like a quick little example. I'm going to put my teacher face on and just show you how we did that. And so this wouldn't be in one sitting. This would be something that we kind of did all throughout the week. But you know, it was just a minute or two after she did her copywork practice. So let me show you that now. Okay, so this is so simple. I would literally just help her read this. And then we would get to a word that maybe might be difficult for her, and then we would break it apart. So, you know, we would look at the first sound and then the second part. I think some people call this word mapping, but this is just kind of like the, I guess you would call it the lazy version. But we could say e, ch, okay, and then reached. And so then we could talk about all these different sounds. And like today, she's really starting to remember this sound better. So I could say, okay, now read this word. Okay, now read this word. And we're just still practicing this sound. I could have done the same thing with this. And then, you know, another day we looked at this word knuckles. And so we could break apart the word, but then we could, sorry, I'm writing with the phone in my hand, but then we could look at this KN and what sound that makes. So each day we're kind of just looking at little things in the passage. So the first day I read the passage to her mostly. By the third day, she was confidently reading the passage on her own. Now, I know some of it is memorized, but still, she's learning the passage in a meaningful way because it's connected to the book. You know, and that EA sound, we were struggling with that sound. And now she really remembers it from this passage. So I don't know if she'll remember it forever, but this week it went really well just to be able to look at it. So, you know, the copywork and this little extra things that we do with it, these little phonics. Oh, let's look at this sound. Let's look at this sound. You know, the only reason I know that is because of all of the phonics that we've done in like Logic of English and phonics pathways. So I'm literally just using the knowledge I have from that to do that. And it just takes a minute. But it's easy to incorporate. Okay, that felt like a lot. I thought it was going to be sound a lot simpler than that. But I hope that you can see how much fun it is to really make it a family event. You know, all of us being able to read this. And then it's been exciting to add in these little bits of things for my second daughter. The goal in all of this is, number one, to simplify by reading the same book. Number two is to follow the same pattern. You know, so if on Monday we're focusing on spelling and vocab, we're doing it with both girls. And that has made it a lot easier. Really, the only difference is that I'm adding in phonics with my almost 8-year-old. So it's been really nice. And I've also enjoyed kind of spicing up our language arts so it's not just straight phonics and learning to read all the time. It's been nice to kind of branch out a bit. So anyway, that's how we've that's the little teeny tiny adjustment that we've done, and so far it's gone really well. So I'm going to stick with it for this whole book, and then I can keep you posted if we decide to do our next one just like it.